Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the final Not So Serious Keto video podcast of 2021. Now, you'll notice that I'm wearing this shirt here. This is the same one. I think I wore this same one during the final podcast of 2020. So it's, 1 star, would not recommend. Let's just go like that. I don't know how well that shows up in the light. That duct tape is a lot more reflective than I thought it was going to be. I was trying to make it a 2021 here. Nah, that just looks stupid. Well, imagine that my shirt says 2021, because as we do this little year in review, I'm not sure that I felt a whole lot different than I did in 2020. At the end of 2020, when I did my year-end wrap-up, I did so with a little bit of a sense of optimism, but also realism, that just the end of a year doesn't suddenly make everything better. And certainly we saw that in the difference between 2020 and 2021, or I guess the lack of difference. In fact, I'm hard-pressed to come up with an example of where 2021 was significantly better than 2020 in most regards. But you know what? I'm not going to dwell on any of the negative. If you want the negative, just open up any news app and I think you'll be able to find it. I'd prefer to be positive, but not Pollyanna-ish. I am a realist. So as we roll into 2022, let's first take a look back at 2021 and some of the positive things that went down. Starting with a few little channel stats that I'll share with you. In 2021, Serious Keto had 6.1 million views. That's pretty cool. For a total of 592,000 hours of total view time. That's sort of mind-boggling to me. If I'm starting to blush, that's why. We added 75,000 new subscribers and 113 new channel members who get early content and certain behind-the-scenes sort of perks. Now, I bring these statistics up not to brag. I'm bringing them up because thank you. This is you that did this. And I'm so very, very grateful that all of you found my content enjoyable enough and meaningful enough that you tuned in as often as you did. So, thank you. I hope I don't burn my tongue like I did last week. Nope, safe, but I almost pulled the tea bag out with my mouth. That would have been a good blooper reel right there. So, looking back at some other positives in 2021, the fact that COVID has continued, and I got to be careful what I say about COVID because as part of the content creators' terms and conditions, I don't want to get flagged for any sort of misinformation that might cause me to be demonetized. So let's just say that it continued. And because it continued, that kept open some wardrobe options for me. I was able to continue wearing various COVID-related t-shirts, like my quarantine and caffeine and wake me when all this is over. So I would call that, one positive thing that came out of 2022. It was also really great to get Connor back home from the Army and Courtney back home from the Army and all sort of feel like a bit of a family again. That was really neat. That was a good time. And now we're moving on to a different good time, which is Courtney has moved out. She's got her place out on the western edge of Wisconsin. And Connor and Jaden just closed on their house earlier this week. Well, earlier this week. It was Monday, I believe. My days are all screwed up. And they are gradually going to start moving out. Probably not as fast as I would like, though, because I'm really, really, truly looking forward to being an empty nester. There is just so much that my wife and I have kind of not been able to do just because we've become this multi-generational household. We don't get a lot of time with each other. And I think that the quality time that we'll have, just even doing chores together, there are things on my to-do list that have been on my to-do list for 3 years. Like going through all of our digital photos and getting rid of the crappy ones and making sure we don't have duplicates and putting on meta tags and stuff so that we can search for it. Things like that I think would be a ton of fun. We've also just talked about going through the house and decluttering, room by room, closet by closet, and I think we'll enjoy that a lot too. So that's a thing that I'm optimistic about for 2022. Another thing that I've absolutely loved about this past year and even 2020 is how much interaction we all have with one another in the comments. You with me and you with other viewers. That's just, to me, it makes us feel kind of like a family, in my opinion. You're like my extended family. You're my, morning beverage buddy, whatever you want to call it. But I want to give you that opportunity right here as well. If there was something that was especially notable and positive that you can be grateful for in 2021, please let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to read that stuff. Then, because we are at the end of a month, it's time to talk about 24 and 21. If you are new to the channel and new to these podcasts, 24 and 21 was my approach to self-improvement over the course of 2021. Rather than coming up with a single big New Year's resolution that I would likely fail at, I decided to break it into monthly little smaller bites. Little positive habits that I wanted to create and little negative things I wanted to get rid of. That could be a bad habit, it could just be a time waster, something that just doesn't add value to my life but saps away energy, emotion, whatever, money. So each month I would pick one positive thing to add and one negative thing or non-value added thing to remove. So 12 times 2 is 24 in 2021, 24 and 21. I don't know if I'm going to continue this in 2022. I'm going to have to give it some thought over the next couple of days between now and Monday's podcast. One of the challenges I found is once you start getting towards the end of the year, you've stacked up a lot of habits. And it can be sort of time consuming and difficult to manage all of them. I think maybe one of the first things that I need to do is reread the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. And if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It's a great book. It's probably one of those books that a person should read once per year. And I don't often recommend books just because it feels like I'm giving homework, and I don't like it when people give me homework. But Atomic Habits by James Clear is really, really a good book. And I'll link to it down in the description below if you'd like to get yourself a copy. But in that, he does talk about certain strategies for stacking habits that allow you to stick with multiple good, positive habits. And I got to reread that. Because in 2021, I would say I was kind of hit or miss in terms of how my performance was against my various habits. So let's take a look at December and what my goals were. The positive was I was going to get back into strength training. And I got 1 week of that in, and then I had my surgery and no heavy lifting. So that came off the table pretty rapidly. So no luck there. What was the negative? Oh, the non-value added thing or the wasteful thing that I wanted to get rid of is I really wanted to go through we've got a big freezer. It's a stand-up freezer out in our garage. And that's where we've got all manner of protein. And I really wanted to start clearing some of that out by putting it in my belly. And I think I did a decent job at that, but still, it seems like when you're a member at Costco, you almost replenish at a rate that's faster than you can consume. So I'm going to give myself, probably an overall C- or D for the month of December on 24 and 21. But that's okay, because over the course of the year, I feel that I've had some really pretty big successes. Some things I don't think I probably would have accomplished had it not been for 24 and 21. And I think one of the things that also helps in accomplishing these things is by putting it out there. When I share with you my goals or you share with me your goals in the comments, we've kind of made a bit of a commitment. And I think in general that's a great way to stick with a habit, because people in general don't like to feel incongruent. So you say something, you put it out there, you promise people you're going to do it, and then you follow up. So as I look back at the big picture of 24 and 21, for me personally, there were a couple things I'm pretty proud of. The fact that I stopped biting my nails was just huge. I mean, I've been biting my nails for over 50 years, and to stop feels great. I like seeing my hands now in my videos. Although I will say that when I had my surgery, they put me on a couple of antibiotics and my nails got really kind of frail. And so they're not looking the best right now. A couple of them wound up catching on some string or some fabric and they tore. I think it's probably the antibiotics. That's my hypothesis. but I also probably need to start upping my collagen intake some more. I kind of quit drinking coffee and started drinking tea more often, green tea, and I used to put my collagen in the coffee, so I need to start doing that some other way, nut milk, something like that. So nails, super happy, not biting my nails. The other thing that I think has made just a vast, vast improvement in my sort of emotional or spiritual health is not placing blame anymore. I used to, whenever anything would go wrong, I would find someone or something to blame. And sometimes it's my fault. Sometimes it's nobody's fault. Sometimes it just is what it is. But for some reason, historically, I've always found a person or circumstance to blame for anything that goes wrong. Oftentimes it would be my wife, which is sort of a jerk move on my behalf. But I haven't been doing that this year. And I know she feels it, and I feel better. And it's just sort of I don't know what I would call it. It's maybe a little bit of a form of stoicism, but it feels good, and I'm glad that that is a habit that I have gotten rid of. The final thing that I've been pleased about, and I wish I would have started this earlier, is really thinking about thumbnails, not my fingernail thumbnails, but thumbnails for YouTube, and thinking about how I'm going to take that picture, how I'm going to make that thumbnail look. For two reasons. One, the thumbnails are sort of your billboard. They're your advertising. They are the thing that very often draws people into your videos. And I think I've done a decent job making those look better over the past couple of months. The other thing is thinking about your thumbnail before you even film a video helps you, or helps me, take a better picture. And that better picture eventually, knock on wood, is going to wind up in a cookbook. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into looking at the year ahead. And now it's your turn. If you were playing along in 24 and 21, what did you do that you're especially proud of? Either that thing that you added, that positive habit, or that thing that you got rid of that was dragging you down. Let me know down in the comments below. And with that, we'll take a brief break. I had mentioned in that last segment that I wasn't sure if I was going to do 24 and 22. I'm kind of struggling with that right now. I want to do something, and it'll probably be something like 30-day challenges. Like, I'll set a 30-day challenge for me, and if you want, you can be part of that same challenge, or if you want, you can pick a different one. And we'll each state what our challenge is, what we're going to try and do for 30 days. And then at the end of the month, we'll update one another with how we did. That's probably where I'm going to go. And I think for the most part, I'm going to look at things that are some sort of health improvement things, because I really want 2022 to be a year where I get back into my best shape ever. I kind of let things slip a little bit with the whole quarantine 15 kind of approaching quarantine 20. And that will be a topic on next Monday's podcast, because I think it deserves a pretty good chunk of time and a little bit of soul searching on my part. So I do definitely want 2022 to be a year of getting into the best overall shape that I can be in, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So I'm certainly open to suggestions. If you have ideas about how we can approach 2022 in a way that feels like a community, make ourselves better sort of effort, let me know your ideas down in the comments. Now, I realize I've given you 3 potential things to comment on. You can comment on one of them, 2 of them, 3 of them, doesn't matter. I get excited just seeing your comments, but don't feel obligated if you don't want to. What else am I looking forward to in 2022? I've got a huge backlog of recipes that I'm working on. I mean, huge. And they're really going to span the entire spectrum from really sort of simple, quick, 3-4 ingredient type of videos, the sort of thing that you see on TikTok. I would never do a TikTok video, but you get the picture. Pretty fast, pretty easy, what to do when you're having a snack attack or you need a quick and convenient sort of meal, to more gourmet, modernist cuisine sort of stuff. The sort of stuff that really, I think I'd put head to head with any non-keto meal. And it's going to be fun. I'm very, very excited about what's in the backlog for me. I'm also really looking forward to sharing some ingredients with you. Some of these are sort of modernist cuisine, modernist pantry type of ingredients, but others are just spices and things like that that I've discovered recently that just brings so much flavor out of food. And really the goal of this channel, when I started it, was to make cooking fun for all of you, for people to be able to go into a keto kitchen and make a meal that's keto, that they enjoyed making and tastes great and is indistinguishable from its non-keto version. So that's what's going to be happening in 2022. I'm very, very excited. That said, 2022 is going to be a make or break year for this channel. I've noticed a lot of other channels kind of pivoting their focus. I don't expect that I'm going to pivot. I'm not going to be like going off of keto or something like that. Either the channel continues or the channel doesn't continue. And fortunately, I've had a series of events each year. I mean, I was ready to stop at the end of 2019. And some interesting things happened financially that allowed me to keep going. Similarly, the channel performance got better in 2020, and I've also had a couple of good things happen financially that allowed me to keep going. But 2022 is definitely going to be a make or break year. There's only so much more that I'm willing to pull out of investments or savings to keep this running as a full-time operation. It's my hope that just through organic growth of the channel, through channel memberships, potentially through some sort of sponsorship type of deal, and ideally the cookbook, hopefully, that I'll get to the point where this channel is where it needs to be for me to just make a sustainable sort of wage on it. And there's ways that you can help if you want. You can become a channel member if you want. You could use my links for products, especially Amazon. When you want to buy anything on Amazon, if you go through one of my links, you don't have to buy the product, but anything you buy on Amazon after using my link, I get a little commission on that. It's like 2%, something like that, maybe 4% on some products. Another thing you can do is just share my content. There's that share button down below. You can click that and share across various social media. You can help advertise for Serious Keto. So lots of different options if you want to help out. But ultimately, I'm just glad to have you here. I'm glad to have you watching. And if that's all you do, if that's all you can afford, if that's all you got time for, I'm okay with that too. Because you guys are great. You guys made this channel. I've been super happy to have you here. And I'll see you next year. Thanks for watching.